David. There we go. And let's go live. Let's do it. Going live. And we are officially live. There it is. Good evening. Good Monday evening, in fact. December 18th, 2023. It is 8 p.m. Welcome to Post-Tropics Topics. We have the grand finale of our low-pressure cyclone. What is this? Are we live, guys, or... Okay. Are we live? Can you guys in the chat hear me? Are we even streaming? Kind of getting tired of YouTube acting a fool. Are we still good to go? I see folks saying hello, but YouTube just said the live stream could not be created, so I'm not too sure what's going on. I'm really hoping we're not running into technical difficulties again. Are we good to go? Can I get some ones in the chat, please, just to double check? Because I'm really getting tired of these technical difficulties. I don't understand what's going on. But how's everybody doing tonight? I hope everything is wonderful in your neck of the woods. We're going to talk about some varying topics tonight. Nomad Cat 4, I believe it was the one who showed me what it is that tropical storm risk, I think it was, or tropical cyclone risk. TSR, they've released their first preliminary forecast for 2024, and I figure we finally have some dead space in the weather sphere to kind of go ahead and talk about that stuff. We'll look at some possible future impacts for us, not only here in the southeast and central Florida, but for the rest of the United States as we fully evacuate the AOR of this massive system that's been just causing all sorts of ruckus for everybody up the eastern seaboard, now moving into Quebec and the eastern extremities of Canada. We have a very interesting little cyclone low that's spinning up in the central Atlantic, too. I'm surprised nobody's hyped it up yet. So, very interesting for sure. But this is pretty neat. You can definitely see it's a frontal system. You got a little bit of cold air advection happening on the south side of it, and then you can see the jet working its way back up to this baroclinic leaf feature right here, moving over the Azores. Or no, those aren't the Azores. What are those? Oh yeah, that is the Azores. Never mind. It's just weird to look at it. It's weird to look at it at this perspective. Because here are Cape Verdes. So yeah, that's just the spherical nature of the world, making it look a little wonky on this overlay. But as of right now, oh good, it still left PM as the moderator. That's good. Good to know. Very good. We'll just leave it like that going forward. I'm not too sure why that other person was spamming us so hardcore during the Chase live stream, but that was very interesting. And then I saw a bunch of comments in the comments section as well. But yeah. Judy, the reason the screen is twitching is because of this satellite shot. It's not actually me, thankfully. It's just this satellite loop for some reason being a little silly. But yeah, so this is what we have going on. The eastern half of the country, now that this system is hopefully getting ready to pull itself out entirely, it actually does look like it's exiting most of Maine at this point, so it is fully across the Canadian border at this point, moving into Quebec with a lot of good rainfall and shower activity and snowfall working its way in on the backside of it, right in through here. So extreme, well, I won't say extreme, but some pretty solid lake effect going on for parts of the Northeast and the Midwest. They're seeing it right now. And you could actually see all that cold air funneling in with the upper level trough right in through there, even on infrared satellite. It's pretty neat. If you guys look over Ontario and parts of Manitoba and Alberta, you actually see these really, really light shades of pink, purple, and blue. That's actually the satellite picking up on the cold air that's seeping in on the backside of that system. Anywhere you see those lighter shades of colors, just like with the colder cloud tops, that's indicative of cold air. And that's one little fun fact for the evening I'll let you guys kind of digest at the start of this stream is whenever you have a satellite image, there's always a specific parameter that it's looking at. And for example, with infrared, you know, we can see thunderstorms, we can see clouds, and we can see all this fun jazz, but in reality, all infrared is looking at is just temperature. That's it. The only reason we can see these cloud features and these cloud signatures and other little features like the lee side troughing and the lee side cloud, the lee side cirrus, lee of the mountain cirrus happening over the front range is because of the temperatures associated with the cloud cover. Otherwise, you're not really looking at physical features outside of just temperature. It's very neat. Same thing with water vapor. Some folks will say thunderstorms, clouds, etc., but all you're looking at is moisture, just water in the atmosphere. Visible satellite is where you'll actually see things. You'll actually see the clouds, the overshooting tops, the cumulonimbus, the blow-off cirrus, CDO and tropical cyclones. You can see snow on the ground. You can see the cloud streets and the cloud lines that are actually pretty indicative or pretty easily identifiable even on this satellite shot because of just how much cool air we have packing in behind that frontal system. That's almost gone stationary at this point, it looks like. Either it's moving very, very slowly. Bermuda's just out ahead of them, so they're kind of getting trained upon with that shower and thunderstorm activity. And if you guys remember, take a look over the Caribbean. I mean, Hispaniola, or I should say Haiti right now, and the very, very eastern extent of the Bahamas are seeing some thunderstorms with that front. But notice how a large majority of the Caribbean is quiet because that air mass has modified, or it is currently modifying. It's pretty neat, too, because you can see the frontal boundary kind of stops right there. Kind of stops right there, and this is where that dynamic fluid continuum statement that I've mentioned to you guys in the past really, really becomes evident, because if you look right in through here, it almost looks like lava. Almost looks like lava spilling over top Costa Rica and Panama right there. Very, very cool to see. There's something stopping that cold air from continuing any further to the east. And so you can see it just funneling through the terrain here. You can see how the higher terrain here in Central America is stopping it right there. The lee of the Rockies, look at that. The lee of the mountains down there in Nicaragua and Honduras is stopping it from flowing due west and southwest into the Pacific, so it's just kind of getting channeled right in through there. It really looks like a river, but it's just air. It's airflow. So it's pretty solid, the stuff that you can see. And you can see as that cold air encounters a little bit of the enhancement that we get from our El Nino waters. Notice how there's a little brief sea breeze that flares up right along the coastline of Panama and Costa Rica. Really neat stuff. Really cool when you can pick out enhancement and stuff like that. It helps you kind of understand weather just that much more when you can see it behaving like a fluid, behaving like water throughout the atmosphere. But yeah, so this is where we stand right now. We have that big old system, this hatchet-looking system, this candy cane. Actually, no, yeah, let's do it for Christmas time. We have our candy cane-looking system getting ready to finally vacate out of our AOR, thankfully, and become no less of a non-issue, at least within the next 24 hours. It's picking up some pretty good forward momentum. Should be up closer to Greenland by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, if not just beyond that. This guy is going to try to make a run towards the coastline, but because of this frontal boundary, just like with our tropical systems, it's going to kind of dissipate and die. It's going to lose its temperature discontinuity and then become a non-factor as well. Caribbean's fairly quiet outside of the eastern Bahamas and Haiti getting some pretty good thunderstorm activity associated with that frontal boundary. But otherwise, really, guys, if you look right here and on this direction, there's really not too much happening outside of the pocket of snowfall that's coming in with that cold core. Like, you could call it convection, thunderstorm activity. You can call it showers, snow showers, etc., moving in through the mid-Atlantic states, the Midwest, and the Northeast. It's out west that we really need to start paying attention to, because there's 3 distinct areas that I'm watching. And where are my manners? I totally forgot. We did not start this live stream off properly. Let me just stop talking for a second and say hello to everybody. Ethan's Life, how are you doing? Good to see you. Carmen, welcome in. Nomad Cat 4, Super Charas PM, our new moderator. Thank you very much for joining us. Judy, hello there. How close are we? Mr. Florida Brian, welcome in. Let's see, who else do we have? Carolyn, hello there. Good night to you. Odell's Legacy, good to see you again. I feel like I haven't seen you in a little bit. Either that or I just haven't been paying too much attention, and I apologize for that. Mick and Marley, howdy. Great to see you in the chat. Giordani St. Fleur, hello there. Let's see, who else do we have? Who do we have? April, welcome in. Good to see you as well. Anyone else joining us? Dark Earth, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Janice, welcome back. Good to see you in the chat. Very nice to see you in the chat, as a matter of fact. Welcome back. Big welcome back. Lovely to have you joining us this evening. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and start looking at some models. So we're looking at the European model, 12 Zulu, and as you can see, we have a very cluttered west coast. Very cluttered West Coast. Well, I don't know why I'm slurring my words so bad tonight. The West Coast. So we have really strong Aleutian low activity going on near the Aleutian Island chain in Alaska. Very indicative of our El Nino style pattern. And then we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4 embedded low vortices within a giant cold sector pocket, if you want to call it that, in the upper levels. We'll take a look at the jet here in a second. It's not necessarily this 993 low that's getting ready to move into Oregon and parts of Northern California. It's this first one back behind it that we'll need to watch over the next week now that could possibly give us some thunderstorm activity down in the deep south and the southeast, kind of give us a rainy Christmas day for us in Florida. I'm learning my lessons, and I don't think this is going to be another severe situation. I am seeing some folks already mentioning that we could possibly see some severe weather out of it, but I'm kind of on the fence this time, and this is just because of continuity's sake. I really haven't had a chance to dig in or really take a look at a whole bunch of stuff. I've still been kind of coming down from the storm chase over the weekend and relaxing and getting back into the workflow before Christmas rolls in. I cannot believe that Christmas is this weekend now. I feel like we were just on a live stream talking about how I can't believe it's December 1st, and now all of a sudden Christmas is in about 6 days. It's crazy. And yeah, no, there's definitely rain forecast. I'm 100% on board with us getting some rain down here. I just don't know if we're going to have a severe threat. I've seen some sources out there on the YouTubes and in the social medias already mentioning we're closely watching. Like, I've even seen some big name folks mentioning all eyes on this. And it's like, with our track record up to this point, even this last system that just came through over the weekend, there were a lot of folks, including me, who were fully on board with bad weather and tornadoes and whatnot, but that proved to not be the case. Did we see some pretty significant phenomena with it? Yeah, but, I'm going to start kind of trending back down a little bit on my severe weather forecast just based on the continuity and the experiences we've had collectively analyzing these systems as they form up in the southern plains and move through the Gulf Coast and southeast. So anyways, we'll go through the loop. So as you can see, that first system comes ashore, gives some really good rainfall, kind of atmospheric river style still for the Pac Northwest, Northern California, Great Basin area. But then it's that next one, that 986, that rapidly losing energy, in fact, low pressure that breaks away from the jet stream and makes its way into Southern California. And if you notice, out over the southern plains, we have a weak perturbation that tries to undergo some cyclogenesis right in through here. I'll draw it for you guys because I know we're looking at a zoomed out North America shot as opposed to just the United States. It's this bad boy here that's going to help to modify the pattern a little bit, but it's this guy that as it transitions through the desert southwest could reemerge in the southern plains, and notice how it really comes together and starts forming a line of shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, I could make a case, I couldn't, not me specifically, but we could technically make a case that we possibly could see a slight to moderate risk of, severe weather in Dixie Alley, the southern central plains, moving into the southernmost periphery of the Midwest. But because of the fact that we're really not expected to warm up down here in Florida particularly, and we really aren't going to see a full return to the muggy, humid Florida peninsula that we usually see 99% of the year, I don't think that any of that shower activity right there, as it starts to move in on us. This is 18 Zulu on December 25th. So this would be mid-afternoon, Christmas Day, and then into Christmas Day evening. Right there, we're looking at some pretty good rain and shower activity associated with that system. And now, again, I could see there being some pretty hellacious weather around the low, somewhere in the Midwest, moving out of the Ohio and Mississippi valleys. Definitely, I can 100% agree with that. Down here, though, I've been seeing some folks already floating it. I don't think we're going to have very much severe weather down here. Because look at this very strong continental polar modifying maritime polar high, still giving us some pretty cool air. So we're going to have to look at our skew T's and make a determination of just how unstable or stable our environment is. Because I've noticed, especially with this last system, the models have really been over-forecasting the buoyancy and the instability of the atmosphere, the troposphere, I should say, for Florida. Late December to early January will be a complex system. It looks like coldest weather of season. This is American model. Yep, that brings me perfectly into the next segment that I'd like to discuss. It's not necessarily this one that I'm watching. I'm watching for our next low latitude rider, as we like to call it on this channel, with El Nino being in place. Because shortly thereafter, this is going into the 26th. Notice what's happening in the Eastern Pacific. Notice this sudden scoop up of really good Eastern Pacific energy, and watch how it does a very familiar trend through the Gulf of Mexico and then becomes something as it's going right over a very, very familiar spot in the northern Florida peninsula. So this one, I do think, could possibly be not a severe weather maker, but an enhanced weather maker for us down here, just because it does look to take on both polar front and subtropical jet support, just like we saw with our last system. This is way out in time now. We're looking at 18Z on December 27th, so a lot of us, including myself, are probably already gearing up for the new year at this point. We're not too fixated on the weather. I mean, I probably will be. There's probably going to be a lot of people who still will be, but you know what I mean. We're getting over the Christmas vibe and then getting ready for New Year's, but you see that coming across the south, and that could possibly be a pretty good weather player for us, while the East Pacific towards British Columbia and the Pacific Northwest continues to be very active, continues to possibly ravage them with some good flooding on the windward side of the Cascade Mountain Range up there in Washington, Oregon. And you come on over to the GFS, or not yet, not the GFS just yet, I just wanted to show you the jet. You can see that breakaway cold pocket moving through the southwest and then coming across, picking up a little bit more jet support from the polar front and becoming something a little more extravagant as it moves through. But then notice this sudden acceleration in our low latitude jet right there. That's what I think is going to help to pick up that next system and scoop it across the Gulf of Mexico right there. You see that really aggressive trough that's actually trying to go somewhat negatively tilted right as it moves over Florida. Notice the little bit of negative tilt that's kind of in with this system. So we have some kind of good cyclogenesis expected to occur in this quadrant of that jet stream. We have a little bit of support from our polar front jet, and then we have subtropical jet energy coming in, a little bit of a subtle negative tilt associated with it, so there's a low pressure trying to form. But again, guys, I mean, we're just kind of shooting blanks right now, not to sound too punny, because again, look at the timestamp. This is the 28th of December. This is even past the Christmas holiday, and we definitely do not want to rush anything. I definitely want to marinate in the holidays as long as possible, because shoot, I feel like I was just making Halloween content for the channel. I feel like we just had Thanksgiving, and now we're already getting ready to yep. Let's go through Christmas. Let's go to 2024, New Year, New Me, etc. Yeah, all the memes and so on and so forth. So that's kind of what's on my radar. I am watching the rest of the country, but it's going to be how much we see in terms of the trends with that next system that could possibly skirt right out of the Eastern Pacific into the Gulf of Mexico. Now onto the GFS. GFS kind of echoes the same thing. You can see that next system popping off. GFS not looking nearly as sinister for the southeast, mainly just a rainmaker for us in Florida. But then you also see that next system coming across out of the Eastern Pacific through Mexico, forms up right along the Gulf Coast according to the GFS, and then we get that system barreling through not only the southeast but also Florida, and then becoming another major problem for the northeast and mid-Atlantic states. Very similar to what we just saw happen right now. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. You know, we're gonna get a little bit of a break. We'll still have to watch the West Coast and see what happens near the Great Lakes, and maybe with that next system that's expected to flow out of the Rockies through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day for the plains, and we'll go from there, one step at a time. Nomad Cat 4, don't you dare go wishing me a happy early birthday already. We still have until February. Carmen, December 27th, there we go. Now that's a birthday we could go ahead and say happy early birthday, and we will probably, what day is that, the 27th? Let's take a look at the calendar real quick. There is going to be a live stream on the 27th, so we can wish Carmen a happy birthday on the next live stream, next following Wednesday. Strong El Nino continues to push rain towards Florida and cold weather, eventually very cold by mid to late January, freezing temps coming in a few weeks. I'm actually looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. I'm just fixated hard on hurricanes and next hurricane season. We'll get there. We're going to talk about that tonight. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to discuss in the weather sphere tonight, so we're going to go into some post-tropics topics. Oh, no, Mad Cat 4, I'm just messing with you, dude. It seems like it's still so far away, but in reality, it's not. I only have about yeah, like we're coming up on less than a month and a half now from my birthday. So that's kind of scary. 30 is creeping in. Just kidding. All right, here we go. So now real quick, guys, I've been noticing a lot of the big names on YouTube use this website. If anyone in the chat has any experience with Weatherbell, please drop it in the chat or leave me a comment. Because I've been contemplating giving it a shot. The only thing I'm not a fan of is this right here. Where is it? Let's see. Let's go to, well, I'll just show you over here. We'll go ahead and look at the Euro, start 3-day trial, and then take a look at this. This is what I'm not a huge fan of. $28 a month for their premium individual membership, and then $66 a month for the professional use, which, you know, I don't really know what the big difference is. I don't even know what concurrent sessions are. Premium blogs, global maps access, grower pro service. I don't even know what that is. I wonder what that is. The grower pro service, occasional social media sharing. I guess I kind of still share stuff on social media. But you know, if anyone's ever used this, let me know. Let me know if it's worth it. I've been looking around. I love this website, theweathermodels.com. This one has treated me really well. I love all the different overlays. I love all the different models that you can pull up on here. The ensembles obviously came in clutch during the hurricane season, so I'm a big fan of this. Been trying to get on the Pivotal Weather website, and I'm not too, I feel like the interface is not as user-friendly as weather models. Either that or I'm just not used to it just yet. But I've been seeing a lot of folks, especially the big names in the weather sphere, on YouTube and social media, they use a lot of Weatherbell. So I'm wondering if maybe I should make the transition and see what happens. So comment in the chat if you guys are aware. You know, we'll see what happens. You'll survive 30 is pretty painless. That's what you think. No, I'm just playing. No, I know I'm going to survive. I just like being silly. Let's see. So many February B-days. That's fun. It is very fun to know. Thankfully, we're not all really close friends or relatives, because that'd be a very expensive month. I'm just playing, guys. If I could, I would celebrate all the birthdays possible. And I wish that we could do actual group video chats, because I think it'd be pretty neat. Like, we could do a Teams chat with all of us on a big old, like, classroom setting video chat, and that'd be fun. No license to drink, have to wait a bit, kid. That is true. Yeah, maybe it's the Aquarius and the Sagittarius. Is it the Sagittarius, the second half of February? The Aquarians in the first half, and then Sagittarius in the second half. My birthday is February 25th. Look at that. My dad's birthday is February 20th. My grandmother's birthday is February 20th. We have a lot of February birthdays. There's a ton of them. A ton of them. But, and if anybody, again, has anything on Weatherbell, let me know. Offhand, off topic. Here we go. All right. This is what everybody's been waiting for, and, you know, we got to bring it back. Pivotal and Weatherbell are very good once you get used to it, and I guess I got to give Pivotal a little bit more of a chance. That's true. Yeah, the Super Bowl. I'm really excited. You know, February is going to be a good month next year. We have all these awesome February birthdays. We got the Super Bowl in February. I don't even know who's playing, to tell you the truth. And then we got the Daytona 500 for my NASCAR fans out there. I can't wait to go to that. I'm actually really pumped about that. NASCAR, don't really watch it on TV. Not a huge super fan, but it's always fun to go to car events and, you know, race events. In real life, obviously, or in person, not in real life, because they're all real, but you know what I mean. When you watch them on TV, they're in the Matrix. I'm just playing. But here we go. This is what everybody has been talking about, and everyone wants to discuss it. Nomad Cat 4 sent over this information, tropicalstormrisk.com. They are an official source. They aren't. At first, I read it, and I'm like, Tropical Storm Risk doesn't sound very official. Do I really want to digest a lot of this info? But it turns out they are actually official. They're an official source. Nowhere in the realm of National Hurricane Center, but you guys know what I mean. And so this is very interesting. Right out of the gate, their summary is TSR predicts that North Atlantic hurricane activity in 24 will be very active, with activity about 30% above the 91, 20, 20, 30-year norm and about 50% above the long-term 50 to 23 norm. This outlook has large uncertainties. So remember, this keyword has large uncertainties, but they're mainly only putting that in there for a CYA measure, a cover your butt kind of preemptive little measure. So, tropical storm risk, extended range forecast for North Atlantic hurricane activity in 24. Anticipated season with high activity. The forecast spans from the period of 1st June to 30th November, obviously. Employs data through the end of November 2023. TSR uses the forecast August, September sea surface temps in the Atlantic MDR, and the forecast July, September Caribbean trade wind anomaly over the region, blah, 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 as predictors. The former is forecast to be warmer than average, leading to an enhancement of Atlantic hurricane activity, and the latter is predicted to be weaker than normal due to predicted neutral ENSO conditions and above average sea surface temps in the Caribbean Sea. So in layman's terms, guys, what that means is we are looking at above average sea surface temps, and just like we've already mentioned on this channel previously, the Caribbean trade winds, which is what has been really crazy right now because of the El Nino shear flow, is going to be weaker. So that's why they're thinking that all in all, this next hurricane season is going to be very above average, because we got a lot of hurricanes in the Atlantic where there wasn't too much shear. And we didn't see a whole lot of anything in the Caribbean and the Gulf because there was a lot of shear, a lot of dry air. But next year, that's going to be totally different. We're going to have all three regions totally ready to rock and roll. The Gulf's going to be ready. The Caribbean's going to be ready. The Atlantic's going to be ready. This forecast has high uncertainty due to uncertainty in how warm the Atlantic and Caribbean sea surface temps will be in August, September 2024, and how much this will influence the strength of the Caribbean trade winds. We express the forecast uncertainty in terms of probability of exceedance for accumulated cyclone energy and for hurricane numbers. So what they're thinking for 2024 is we're going to have 4 major hurricanes, 9 total hurricanes, and 20 tropical storms, overall 20 named systems. Of the 20, 9 will be hurricanes, and of the 9, 4 will be major hurricanes with an overall predicted ACE index, accumulated cyclone energy, of about 160, which is pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. That's strong. That's more than what we saw this year for sure, and we had some doozy of storms out there in the Atlantic. The forecast tercile probabilities for the 24 North Atlantic hurricane season ACE index are as follows: a 53% probability of being upper percentile. I don't know why they're saying tercile. A 39% likelihood of being middle tercile, and only an 8% chance of being lower, which means that a lot of the storms they're thinking are going to be very strong. Middle point of it was going to be a little bit kind of a happy medium, like the median, and then very little are likely to have the ACE of 75 or less than 75. Let's see here. What else do we have here? I haven't really looked at all of this. I just want to see precision of seasonal hurricane forecasts. The figure on the next page displays a seasonal forecast skill for North Atlantic hurricane activity for the 21-year period between 03 and 23. This skill assessment uses the seasonal forecast values that were issued publicly in real time by the 3 forecast centers, TSR, CSU, and NOAA. So let's see. Month of forecast issue. Anyways, although there are mostly only small differences in skill between the 3 forecast centers, the TSR model has been either the near equal best or the best performing statistical seasonal forecast model at all lead times for the period 2003 to 2023. So essentially what they're saying is they definitely are one of the leading centers for making these preliminary predictions. They just, again, want to make sure that they CYA, cover their butts when making predictions like this, because a lot of folks can take this, rip it apart, and either, claim blasphemy, or they'll hype it for the sake of views on YouTube. So 2024 hurricane season in Florida is going to be active. I definitely agree with that. ASU does their own outlook on Atlantic hurricane seasons. Not official sources, but fun to read. 2023 ACE was 143. 160 is higher than this year. There were 3 in 10 storms. Next year could be 1 more. Yep, I agree with that. And that does sound like a pretty realistic, what's what I'm looking for? A pretty realistic projection expectation, because this year a lot of our storms were smothered because there was a tremendous amount of trade wind shear through the Caribbean, and it was even more expansive than that. I remember there were a lot of storms like Tammy, Philippe, Rena, who had to do battle with that same level of wind shear in the greater Atlantic waters. Without the wind shear being such a huge anomaly next year, that could definitely prove to be problematic for not only the Caribbean, but see, I'm taking hits for you guys. I see the ads popping up and I'm just skipping them. That's a couple less pennies in my pocket because I don't like when the ads blast you guys with it. April 17th, 2024, the CSU released its first predictions for a season with above-average activity with 20 named storms, 10 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes, and 165 ACE, citing the unlikely La Nina. I don't know how much I should be concerned for South Carolina. We haven't gotten a major direct in decades, just close calls. So, Super Charas, if you were around for our little forecast discussion of the few statistical or scientific papers that we've read in a comparison of El Nino, La Nina, neutral, I would actually say next year, if we're in that neutral to weak La Nina, you guys might want to keep an eye out, because it's been climatologically proven that in a neutral pattern, Florida up to South Carolina and as far west as maybe the New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama area are definitely under the gun for a bit more of a landfall potential, is what I'll say. There's a higher potential that you'll get a stray storm that will, in fact, wander in your general direction. So I would say don't, start stressing and really digging into things, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind that, okay, the pattern is going to be changing, so our steering patterns are going to be a little different. Might be time to at least keep an extra eye out when preliminary forecasts and whatnot start to come out. How many major hurricanes were there in 2004? I don't remember, truthfully. Right out of the gate, I can think of 4. Charlie, Francis, Gene, Ivan. Who else was a major hurricane that year? Can't really... maybe those were it? I don't think those were it. I feel like there were more than that. I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick before we go on to that last page. That last page we'll kind of save for the end. Hurricane season 2004. Let's see. There were 16 tropical cyclones in 2004. Let's see here. So who were major hurricanes? So we have one. Who was this? Number 1 was Alex. So Alex was already a major hurricane. There's one. Oh, wait, duh, David. You can just look up here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major hurricanes that year. Alex, Charlie, very infamous name, Francis, Ivan, Gene, and then Carl. So what's scary, too, is 4 of those 6 major hurricanes all hit Florida. And then you could see, as a matter of fact, Supercharged, if you look right here, you can see that South Carolina definitely saw their fair share of activity in 2004 during a neutral season. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, technically 5 systems that brushed in through South Carolina, so a big difference in comparison to what we saw this year. 2005 was very active. 2005 was a La Nina season, and 2005 did a great job of highlighting what it is that we read about in that one paper that we closely examined together in a previous live stream. If we look at the tracks here of the 2005 hurricane season, you can see we had a couple fish storms, but the primary area that these storms tended to track were more or less right in through here. And that was the general takeaway from the paper that we read on the channel collectively not too long ago, is during an El Nina, now I'm the one messing it up, during a La Nina, we typically do see a lot more of our Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico systems. During a neutral season, we typically see something like this going on with our systems. And then obviously, as we learned this year, during an El Nino, a lot of them tend to do this or do something like this because of the way the pattern sets up. So we'll definitely see what happens. Next year could get a little dicey for some people, I do think. The big question and the huge elephant in the room is really going to be the sea surface temps. Because truthfully, if we do see a bit of an increase in our overall anomalous sea surface temps out here, that's definitely going to lead to stronger systems in areas that we don't need them. Because if you remember, guys, our greatest ocean heat content were in fact in the Gulf of Mexico and much of the Central and Western Caribbean. This is where most of our OHC was, but because of that really good El Nino wind shear over top of it, we left that alone, and we had to tap into what was available out here in the main development region, in which case all the storms kind of did this. So we honestly, as bizarre as it sounds for me to say this, we had a lot of untapped potential to see what could possibly happen during an erroneous season like this year. There was a lot of OHC out there in the Caribbean and in the Gulf of Mexico, just like sunken treasure that was never dug up by any of those tropical cyclones. So it's going to be, if we do have OHC and SSTs like we did this year, or anywhere in that same general ballpark next year, I will openly admit, as dark as this may sound, I'm very curious to see what a system could do if it goes over that. I kind of want a system to go over it. Unfortunately, for the people in its path, pending it could even be Florida, I want to see what a system would do if it passes over that type of ocean heat content underneath a much more favorable environment than we saw this year. Because even when we did have tropical waves and tropical disturbances in our favorite invests that kept going through at the end of the year, gosh, I swear, I want to go back one night, and I know I'm going to get blown up on YouTube if I did this. I know I would get blown up on YouTube in a heartbeat if I did this, but I kind of want to go through all the big weather channels on YouTube and on Instagram and just do maybe I'll do a members-only roast of all the different channels, because I swear we had Vince forming 4 or 5 different times. I saw so many videos of people saying, Tropical Storm Vince, Tropical Storm Vince, Hurricane Vince. I did one of those, I'll admit. I did one. I have one on my track record, but there were so many other videos out there. Tropical Storm Vince forming with every invest. We had that first one that we were tracking. Tropical Storm Vince, nothing happened. And then Tropical Storm Vince, nothing happened. And then Tropical Storm Vince. And then even National Hurricane Center had their predictions and the projected path of Tropical Storm Vince. And I'm sorry. I can't help it. It just cracks me up because there were so many videos of, oh, it's happening, and then nothing happened. And then 5 minutes later, oh, here he is, and then nothing happened. It's like the freaking hurricane season kept on going, you thought, every single time just to mess with us. And like I said, I fell into that trap. I remember distinctly one video in particular where I did specifically say Tropical Storm Vince, and I ate my words. So one of these days, maybe I will do a cheap members only, a $2-3 buy-in, and you guys can join me for a YouTube roast, myself included. We can roast the heck out of my videos. Shoot, it'd be funny. I'm all for it. I think that'd be hilarious. And I'm not going to, be sensitive or anything like that. Because I know there were a lot of times where I definitely learned as I made my videos. It was funny, too, when I would go back and watch some of my older videos, some of the dumb isms that I would let slide in there, like doing my voice. I remember my friends watched one of my first videos. They were like, why would you do that voice on YouTube, dude? That's an insider with us. Don't embarrass yourself like that. And I remember Lee, I accidentally watched someone else's video when Lee was going on, and because they were really hyping up the impacts, I went ahead and hyped up the impacts, and I got blown up in my comment section. I got blown up in my comment section of people like, dude, no, shut up. You're really hyping now. Because I remember watching some videos of other YouTubers who were like, we're looking at 50, 60-foot waves and winds over 120 some odd miles an hour, and then the walls of water. And even I was doing the whole Hurricane Lee is going to impact thousands, blah, blah, blah. And, I'd roast myself. Let's put it that way. There's so many times where I would roast myself based on old, preliminary videos as I was going through. Just like I used to love doing when I had more time, I used to love doing the little intros before rolling through the title sequence and then getting into the segment. And I watched some of those old intros that I made, and I would even sit here cringing, when I would be like, Hurricane Vince, or no, God, now the name stuck with me. Hurricane Lee is set to impact and threaten millions, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, God, what am I doing right now, dude? Just get into the video. Shut up already. So, yeah. I thought that was pretty hilarious. So comment in the chat if you guys think that that's a good idea. We'll do a little members-only YouTube roast. This way, when it does go out onto the YouTubes, it's not like everybody could come in and be like, why are you talking smack? Or why are you yelling at everybody? You're trash, because I know that's exactly what happened. It's time we get rid of category numbers and rate a storm based on impact, not strictly wind. I agree. Either impact or a combination of wind, central pressure, and impact, I think would be a lot more realistic. PM, in regards to what you'd mentioned. Naz should make a song about Tropical Storm Vince. Oh, my God. If I had to pick a bone with hurricanes this year, it would be Hurricane Lee, it'd be Tropical Storm Philippe, and then what could have been Tropical Storm Vince over and over again. God, just like there were a lot of people who were saying, we're going to go into the supplemental list. And it's like, we didn't even get through Vince. Y'all were expecting Vince to blow up 5 different times, and we're still here. Why are we talking supplemental list? The 4 categories are wind, and water, rain, tornadoes, make an acronym and then a number scale. That'd actually be pretty cool. I like that. We aren't in an El Nino again next summer. No, Griffin, we're going to end the video. We're going to end the live stream on that note. We'll look at the latest December ENSO forecast. Vince is a name that makes me laugh. Yeah. Don't ever say that to Vince Vaughn. I actually like Vince Vaughn as an actor, too. He's done pretty good work. Lee did impact Canada and Maine. He did. You see, and that's the thing. Like, it did still, but there were a lot of folks, including myself, who were like, Hurricane Lee is going to blow up, and there were, all right, I promise. Good night, Ethan, by the way. I do see your comment up there. I apologize for skipping over that. I hope you have a wonderful evening, buddy. But, I remember there were a few videos of Hurricane Lee that even though it was like distinctly weakening, it blew up to a Cat 5 and then was like just continuously weakening day to day to day, just getting easier and easier to deal with. The only difference was the wind field was spreading out because it was losing its tropical characteristics, but it was still weakening regardless. And I remember so many videos that I would watch on my recommended YouTube home screen, so many of them, Hurricane Lee just got worse. Hurricane Lee ain't being normal. Hurricane Lee is is weird. Like, how is the... I'm sorry, I got to get my composure, but it's just, when, you know, like, what constitutes a... Dang it. The outtake, this is a blooper right now. What constitutes a weird hurricane? Like, first of all, when are they normal? For starters, like, hurricanes are all little individual systems. They're all going to do their own thing. The only thing that we can try to forecast is the path based on, you know, our mid-level and upper-level synoptic features and all that. But, like, when is a system ever not weird? So, like, when I saw some videos, Hurricane Lee behaving weird, I was like just sitting there cracking up to myself like, how are people even clicking on this video? I just laugh and keep going. Or I'd watch it just, you know, to laugh. Just like I remember when Hurricane Lee went from actual tropical system to non-tropical, people definitely hit that button and they were like, oh my God, the transition, it's going to impact millions. And it's like, I mean, technically you're not wrong, but to the extent that you're mentioning, I feel like we need to tone it down a little bit. And I thought it was funny. I thought some of these videos were funny, especially the ones that, you know, I think the same thing happened with Tropical Storm Philippe, too. That's another reason why Philippe is one that I have a bone to pick with, because it was not an intense storm whatsoever. The dude got up to 50 miles an hour before it finally made its way from the Caribbean, and everyone was like, this tropical storm is going to cause problems, or, you know, this tropical storm is being weird, you know, with that W word again. It's being weird, guys. I don't know what's going on with these things now. So, I don't know. Anyways, I'll get off that rant. I just thought that was funny. This is why I want to do a roast. Like, it'd be so funny. And that's kind of what I want to do if I were to do a spoof video. Like, for example, just to give you guys a very small tidbit, for example, right here real quick. I know a lot of people are probably not going to watch it, or it's going to be a hit. I feel like if I were to do a spoof forecast video, it's either going to bomb and I'm going to get like 5 views, or it's going to go viral and people are either going to be making fun of me or they're going to find it hilarious. But like, for example, this is exactly how I would film my spoof video, just to give you an example. Like, I'm going to pretend you guys aren't there and I'm just going to act like in the video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Weather Center Nazario. Today we have some really big and destructive news to talk about because there's some bad weather coming for the southeast, and it's probably going to put a damper on your Christmas day. Let's take a look. So as you can see here on the European model, this is the best model, guys. You don't want to look at any other model. I'm just going to tell you that right now, a little tidbit for your knowledge and for your safety. We only look at the European model. If it ain't on a Euro, it ain't happening. Never mind. I can't even do it right now. If it ain't on the Euro, it ain't happening. So GFS. Who's the GFS? I don't know what the GFS is. Is that like the Geographic Forecasting Station? We have the CMC, can't model for crap, and then we have the icon model. What is it? An icon? A little hurricane? A little L? Who wants to look at an icon and hope it forecasts? What is it going to draw lines all over a chart? Why would you even have an icon? So anyways, the Euro. If you're not using a Euro, you're wrong. Anyways, guys, if you look at this, you can see this area of precip activity moving across the Gulf, and man, look at that isobaric pattern. Look at this. Look at the streamlines on this. If you look closely at how densely packed these millibar lines are, sheesh, that's easily like a 60, 70 knot wind event for Florida right there. That's incredible. And then let's not forget the tornado, the tornado risk with a system like this, incredible, off the charts. Because when you think about it, we have negative degree temperature. We have negative degree temperatures coming out of the Arctic. Never mind. I can't. See, this is gonna be a problem recording. I'm gonna need so many outtakes and whatnot trying to film this. It's gonna be incredible. And then if you look at this, look at that system forming up in the Gulf of Mexico at the 222-hour out. And you know what, guys? It's tried and true that if you use the Euro, it's accurate all the way through. To 240 hours, I've seen it do marvelous jobs in its forecasting. You remember Hurricane Lee did phenomenal 240 hours out. In fact, if I could multiply 240 times 2, it'd do even better, because the more long range you go out with the European model, that's how good, that's how precise of a forecast model it is. If you multiply the hours and you go beyond the actual 240-hour panel, oh, it does even better, guys. That's why it's such a great long range forecast model. And you take a look at this. If you look at across the Gulf, look at this low pressure forming up in our El Nino jet. This is it, guys. I'm calling it right now. That is Tropical Storm Vince. In fact, this could possibly be major Hurricane Vince as it undergoes rapid intensification, hitting these 27, 28 degrees Charlie Gulf of Mexico waters. We've been 10 degrees above average all calendar season, all calendar year, guys. There's no reason why we would not see a major hurricane out of this. So, Floridians, please, if you are not heeding evacuation orders, please start to do so right now, because Wednesday, never mind, I'm done. I can't. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just wasting everyone's time now being stupid, but that's the kind of stuff I'd put on there for sure. That's the kind of stuff I'd want to look at, or I'd want to record in a spoof video, and I feel like people would love it. But anyways, back to a serious note. Well, not back to a serious note, but back to, a more level-headed note. Jacob, welcome in. I do see you joining. Huge Christmas storm in the Gulf. Santa crashes in the big. That's it. That's the title of the video. That's going to be it. If I make a spoof for this Christmas possible storm, I'm going to mention in the title, because you know how some YouTubers, they'll put, this storm is going to blah blah blah. I should put, this superstorm is going to crash Santa in your backyard. This storm will bring down Santa Claus. That's going to be the title for the spoof video. Or better yet, this storm will change the face of Christmas forever. And you had to fade to blackness right when it does that. Forever. This storm is going to change the face of Christmas forever. And that's the video. That's the title of the video. But all right, guys, so this is going to be our latest ENSO probability issued earlier this month. We get these on a month-to-month basis, and as you can see, we are still anticipating to see quite a bit of significant weakening in our El Nino oscillation by the time we're rolling through March, April, and May, and then it's going to be on a very, very rapid decline as we get ready to start hurricane season. And one thing, if I'm not mistaken, let me see, let's go back... Can I go back in time here and we can look at... Yeah, see, so one thing I'm noticing is as we see more of these forecasts come out, they're actually projecting a stronger neutral pattern every time they update. I want to take a look at this line graph here in a second, but if we come back to this, take a look at this one down here and notice how El Nino is actually on a more steady decline through March, April, May, June, July, and then so on and so forth. So on and so forth. But then if we come back to our December chart, notice how we're expecting a rapidly weakening El Nino. That's almost going to be close to non-existent as we're rolling into the hurricane season, and the neutral oscillation is through the roof as we start hurricane season, June and July, which is not good. That means we could possibly come in to a very active start to the hurricane season, because that's going to open up the Gulf and the Caribbean, and it doesn't get any better than that. In fact, this new forecast has the potential to have us in an actual weak to moderate now La Nina as we go into the peak of hurricane season. Let's go back one more time so we can take a look at the line chart. Okay, so yeah, this still has us at a neutral point according to the... Oh, no, this is still from November. Is this still... Yeah, no, this is still November. Can I not look at the latest? No, I guess not. I guess that doesn't update just yet, or hasn't updated just yet. But anyways, this is looking a little more troublesome because we are now seeing a gradual increase, or I should say an incremental increase in our neutral pattern, and El Nino is supposed to crash and burn as soon as we cross the May, April, or the March, April, I was going to say May, April, May, the March, April, May time frame. I'm already preparing to stage a video of me pulling Santa out of the wreckage here in Newberry, Florida, and saving him in my boarded-up home for the channel. That would be, honestly, that'd be a collaboration made in heaven for sure if we could do that in a video. Guys, this is Weather Center Nazario storm chasing as this big hellacious storm brings down Santa. Jacob, what do you got in your backyard, buddy? And you have a video of you ripping Santa out of the wreckage of his sleigh. This storm is ridiculous, guys. This is unlike anything we've ever seen. This is going to be in the history books. That'd be such a great video. I'd be dying for hours. I'd rewatch it 1,000 times by myself, even if I had to. I'd give myself 1,000 views just rewatching it and cracking up, because I would want to put in... The intent behind a spoof video would be to put elements of this channel, me, other elements from other channels that I've seen, and then just naturally add a little bit of a comedic twist to it. But, oh God, yeah, I would, I'd have so much fun. Chris, get out of there. Surge is coming. No, Kringle. I'm dead. This is hilarious. But, yeah, guys, as we get ready to close out the stream, you can see a big transition in what our ENSO probabilities are looking like for next year. So we're really going to have to watch what starts to happen as we go through February, March, and April. We'll have to see if we start to see a bit of the transition begin. That's going to be very pivotal because from the way it looks, this strong El Nino that we're finally in is going to eventually fizzle out. Just like with everything else, we're going to see things begin to peter off as fast as they accelerate it into full throttle. So that could possibly be very bad. The fact that June through August is looking neutral, I think June through especially August in particular, I'll put a little asterisk right there. I think August in particular, we're going to need to watch for a repeat of what we had in 2004, because I remember August and then into September, Florida saw storm after storm after storm. So... yeah, that's kind of what we'll leave the live stream with. I know that goes from laughing our butts off to a somber note if you want to take it that way, or you could look at it as an exciting note, because this is a good possibility that we're going to have a lot of good continuing coverage that we're going to provide on this channel. And the best part about it is, because I know there's going to be a lot of other channels out there that will be, you know, live streaming and talking, but you know for certain after this past weekend that we are going to be in the trenches reporting on this. We're going to be flying all over the place, Lord willing, not literally if we do get hit by a major hurricane. If you hear that there was a silver eclipse overturned amidst Hurricane, I don't know, Isaac, major Hurricane Isaac, then you know that was Weather Center. But, you know, we're going to be doing all sorts of coverage next year. Good night to you, my friend. Remember that I told you about that rapid weakness of this El Nino? Yes, I do remember that. SOI now at 1.3. That is near neutral. Not sure why. It takes a little time for large-scale patterns to change. Maybe the El Nino is starting to weaken to West Pac. East Pac is holding on. You know, I think I remember coming across an actual article not too long ago, now that you mentioned that, that had pointed out that the western part of the El Nino has already started to show signs of weakening, which is not a good sign. That's definitely not a good sign, because that's very telling of the next hurricane season. Like, truthfully, even if we take out all of these, you know, sea surface temps and OHC, just the fact that we're going to lose El Nino just as fast as we got it this year is already a huge telling signal. That would already, at least if you're smart anyways and you have common sense, that right out of the jumpstart should tell you, okay, I should probably take this hurricane season a little more serious, because we're going to have a very favorable troposphere out there, atmosphere for these systems to thrive off of, which means they're probably going to get a lot closer for comfort, if not plow right through where I live, metaphorically speaking. Yikes, this is scary for me living in Florida, especially Miami, Florida. Don't let it be scary. Don't let it be scary. To echo the words of what Mark Sudduth in Hurricane Track says, I totally agree with him 175,000%, and I wish he could tune in for one of these live streams. This is a wonderful tool that we have to look forward in time to know what's coming. I'm ready to see Dave wear a chicken suit during a cyclone. I'd go dressed up as Michael Myers. That'll be someone's worst nightmare. In the middle of a Category 3, Category 4 hurricane, you're sheltered in place in your house, and then all of a sudden Michael Myers is braving the storm, walking around outside. It's like, you can't catch a break. You have the storm trying to tear your house down, and then you have Michael Myers trying to tear you down. So, but anyways, don't let this be scary at all, Giordani. Definitely take this not only with a grain of salt, because we still have a long time before next hurricane season. Knock on wood, I say that, but I feel like we're already almost done with December, so technically hurricane season is already kind of on the horizon. Because once you get through December, we have January, February, March, and then by then, when you get into April, you should ideally already be kind of thinking about hurricane season because, you only have a couple more months to start prepping. But yeah, just take this with a grain of salt because we still have a little while to go, and, we'll be okay. We'll get you through this. And to kind of wrap up the whole live stream, I'm already in the process of ironing out all the fine kinks of this first storm chase. I've already contacted AT&T, so I can hopefully by the end of the year, hopefully by the end of the week, go pick up a mobile hotspot from them. So good night, everyone. I hope you guys have a good night. Also, David, I got some good news from NHC. I spoke to the director today. Ooh, okay, Matt F-150. I will definitely check my phone here once we get finished. Once we get finished up. I do apologize. I haven't had my phone out at all this live stream. I'll take a look in a moment, dude. But we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see what happens. But anyways, yeah. So storm chasing hot wash. The 3 main takeaways. Number 1, I got to get my AC fixed. That's the big one. 2, I want to get a mobile hotspot so I can bring other tools along like my laptop, or maybe even I'll invest in a cheap little tablet to bring with me to stream live radar and satellite data and observations and whatnot off of. I'm kind of thinking of a tablet because my laptop has seen better days. That has a lot of old stuff saved on it, so it might lag up on me in the middle of the field. So I might just invest in a cheaper tablet because I noticed on Amazon they run between $60 to $80 for a brand spanking new one. Guys, cough, cough if you want to donate a little bit so we can get that for the car. That's going to be the next step alongside that mobile hotspot so I can stream consistently through the whole way through. And then last but not least, I also already have a new microphone on the way for my camera setup because it turns out I figured out the problem. Unfortunately, the lapel mic that I was using, which is why you guys heard a lot of the wind noise when I was out there in Tampa Bay, I don't know if it's maybe an update they did on my phone recently or because I know I went in and I had the front-facing come on, David, the front-facing camera fixed on this bad boy, and so what I'm thinking is maybe they had a new firmware or a new software that they plugged into it, and now it no longer registers my lapel mic. I can't remember when I bought the lapel mic and when I got my camera fixed because I do want to say that I was using my front-facing camera during Adalia, but I can't remember to tell you the truth. Everything's blurred together at this point. But anyways, we have another lapel mic coming in, so we can do a test run of that, and that's kind of the main takeaway is we're going to go ahead and once I do get things put together, maybe by next week or the week after that, I will go ahead and do a dry run storm chase, a mock storm chase with you guys in the vehicle with me, and I'll boot everything up, test the mic, test the camera, test my hotspot, and we'll see what happens as I do like a quick 20-30 minute drive just around my area in Florida and see how it holds up. Just so we can do that for a dry run for the next hurricane, not the next hurricane season, dang! The next major storm system that potentially comes through here for the next storm chase. This way we can iron out as many of the kinks as possible before it comes time to give you guys that live coverage again. So that's the inner machinations of what's happening in the channel in the background. So we'll see what happens. We'll get it together and we'll get it going. I'm going to work on weather spoof content. There we go. I like it. Good evening. Sorry to be late for the live, Malachi. Good to see you again. No problem at all. We were actually just getting ready to wrap up, unfortunately, but thank you very, very much for joining us regardless. Let's hope there will be. January 2010 was the last time we almost had snow, only sleet. I do remember that, actually. There were some snow flurries reported in northern Florida a couple of different occasions, if I'm not mistaken, a long time ago, a long while back. But, yeah, guys, so that's about it. If you have any more suggestions or recommendations, please drop them in the comment section of this video. Or, as I always plug in, drop me a line on my Instagram or my TikTok. Working on trying to grow those while the YouTube is a little slower because of the time of year. And, you know, we'll get all the kinks ironed out for our next potential severe weather setup here before El Nino is all said and done. And then we'll definitely be ready to rock and roll when it comes time to chase down some tropical storms and hurricanes. And I'm not kidding when I told you guys before that I'm willing to put myself in harm's way for you all and all the viewers who would tune in to a live stream. And it's not just for the attention and the likes and the subscribers and all that. I just think that if you're going to provide accurate weather coverage, you can only get so much out of sitting in front of a computer. And so that's the main reason I want to make sure that my storm chase setup is ready to go for when real stuff hits the fan. This way, when I am live streaming and I am talking to you guys, we're right there in the trenches. That was always the intent of this channel. It was always the goal to provide not only in-house coverage here, but also out there whenever the storm hits Florida or anywhere in this geographic region. Because obviously I can't do outdoor coverage for a storm in Puerto Rico or in the Caribbean or anything for that matter. So at certain points, I will have to retreat to the office. But anytime there's a really, really significant storm, let alone a hurricane, major hurricane, coming to Florida, you know for certain that I'm going full Jim Cantore and I'm headed straight into it to show you guys play-by-play what's actually going down. So we'll see. Low-key, and I don't want to sound like I'm being silly, but it could be dangerous. You could see some stuff happen on a live stream one of these days, and I'm just putting it out there. Don't panic. I'm not going to panic, but you just never know. It was something that crossed my mind when I was out there chasing in Tampa, and I know that nothing big really happened, but I was just thinking about it. You know, what if this was a bad situation and we did have, say, for instance, a water spout coming in off of the Tampa Bay waters? You know, it could get real bad, real gnarly in the blink of an eye. And that's another reason why I want to be there to witness it and provide you guys with that live coverage, because things can go from 0 to 100 in a volatile situation like bad weather in a moment's notice. And if there's no one really watching over you, watching your back with official coverage or knowledge, that could be very dangerous for a lot of people. So, yeah. That's going to be the next thing on the list, telling you this year is very strong and all the stress hitting Florida could possibly bring severe weather. Probably like the last one. Excuse me. Malachi, what's your question? Nazaria, God bless you. Hopefully you'll have more views and subscribers and likes. Oh, well, thank you very much, Giordani. I really appreciate that. You know, Lord willing, on a very serious note, while Malachi is typing his question, do you know anything about the flooding in Barbados that had rained for 4 days straight? No, I do not, actually. I didn't know that. Not at all. I haven't really been extremely tethered to the weather sphere. And honestly, looking at this satellite image, it doesn't look like there's really anything happening out there right now. I mean, maybe like a very, very... It looks like, unfortunately, unless we're really zoomed in on that island, and I don't think any of my immediate satellite resources could zoom us in down into that general area, it looks like, unfortunately, that island was caught in the extreme tail end of this frontal feature and had just the right size of thunderstorms overtop the islands that island that just wouldn't stop. Because it looks like the rest of the Windward Islands didn't really see anything. Not at all. I don't see anything for Trinidad, Tobago, none of the southern Windward Islands. Just Barbados seeing some very, very, very sporadic shower and thunderstorm activity on the very tail end of that feature out there. What a bummer. I really do need to start looking at more high-res data because I'm pretty certain that this won't be able to zoom in as close at all. Continental sectors, maybe. Nope. No satellite out there. Localized is probably not going to do it. We have a Puerto Rico satellite, but nothing that reaches out over there. Localized sectors, probably not going to do it. Oh, that's the one I just looked at. Sub-regional. Here we go. Barely squeaking in there. Yeah, so it looks like there was some good activity that just sparked up right over top that area and trained for a little while, because if you look real closely, we have upper level winds moving this way, but then you have surface level winds moving this way. So there's just a really good boundary of confluent flow right in through there that's keeping the thunderstorms right over top that area. And none of the other islands are really seeing it either. I mean, maybe some very, very stray occurrences out over this general area, these 3 islands, but Barbados is unfortunately just far enough to the east to where they're seeing a little bit more of those residual impacts from that confluent and that convergent flow, and that's why they've been just chilling over that general area. No. Don't let panic mode be on for me, or for you. Don't let panic mode be on. I promise you, even if it does happen, even if things go downhill, you can trust that I'm going to try to keep everybody as far ahead of those storms as possible. That's one thing that got me in a lot of trouble this hurricane season. I was not afraid to start forecasting storms 7 to 10, if not even further than 7 to 10 days out on my YouTube channel. And there were a lot of folks who constantly said, you're hyping because it's so far out in the future. But I'm not afraid. If the models line up, if the pattern makes sense and the trends are there, I'm going to start highlighting these things to keep people as forecasted before the events as possible. I'm not one to sit and relax until it's on, the satellite image, and then I'll start forecasting. Doesn't make any sense to me. Does not make any sense. And it was a bummer that a lot of the other YouTube channels out there who, when we really didn't have a whole lot to talk about, that's when they started to focus on things way into the future. And that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, if you're going to forecast for certain events because it's slow and you need views, it goes to show where your priorities are. Whereas on this channel, that's been the stride that we started with, and it's always going to be that way. If I see something pertinent, like even tonight, for example, if I see something pertinent that could possibly cause some bad weather, whether it be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 days out, I'm going to start talking about it. Like, I don't think anybody's really going to mention that little entity after the Christmas holiday like we just did tonight. I want to continue to try to forecast that far out. It's extremely difficult, and I'm going to openly say I'm going to be wrong. I'm not going to say I might be or maybe. No, I'm going to be wrong 40 to 50% of the time because computer models are only so good after a certain point. But I'm not afraid to put myself out there and at least make people aware of what could maybe be happening before it's suddenly knocking on your door, and then you only have a day or two to really prepare. I saw that in a number of different instances this hurricane season. It happened during October before our tornado outbreak in Florida. People were making fun of my channel because I was talking about it 2 weeks in advance, and what do you know? It happened. I was talking about the system that was going to pop off for us here over this last weekend, and it only took until it started to show itself. Then people started to speak on it, or at least within 5 days or so. Then people started to speak on it, and, maybe that's foolish of me, but I just think as a weather forecaster, you should talk about it before anything comes to fruition. Otherwise, why are you forecasting? What's the point of forecasting a storm that's already there? That's not that before, for context, foreshadowing, foreseeable, like just using some context clues, Today I was on the road and it was like an ocean on the road. Oh, wow. You were way out ahead of everybody else on this weekend storm. I was telling people we were going to have bad weather days before the local channels were talking about it. I did hear that a lot, Scrooge McDuck. I noticed that there were a lot of actual television networks who really didn't say anything until maybe a day or two before the weekend. I think the Les Antilles will see the above-average rainfall season. I agree. So I agree, definitely. When do you think is the next severe weather event similar to this? I'm thinking maybe by December 27th, December 28th. There are some folks already talking about the system that could be moving through during Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But at least particularly for us here in the Southeast, I don't know if that'll be our severe weather maker. Could we see it in the plains, in the Midwest, and in the Appalachians, the Ohio, Mississippi valleys? I think there's definitely a chance to make a run for some severe weather activity. I don't think that'll be severe for us down here, though. I think potentially the system after that, the next Gulf of Mexico low pressure, depending on how that first system shakes out and what our atmosphere looks like after that first system moves through on Christmas, that'll also tell us a lot about what that December 27th and 28th system could look like. So that's the one that's on my radar. And again, you can already see that it's only December 18th, and I'm already talking about the 28th. And I'm not trying to rush it, but, it's just things that pop out to me. But, alrighty, guys, we are over time. It is 9:09. I'm going to start getting off. I actually have to get to bed because I have my first military PT test again tomorrow. And that's hopefully going to be one of the final nails in the process of finishing up my military reentry. So I'm going to go to bed here shortly after this and wake up and get ready to do my thing and have some fun and then sign some paperwork, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, so covered some El Nino, covered some tropical risks, talked a little bit about now and in the near future for what our weather's looking like around the holidays. Do you believe that a stronger cold front could bring gale to storm force winds in the Caribbean and Jamaica? It's going to take a very strong cold front to do that. A very strong cold front. Because even this last one, a lot of folks were talking about how we were going to see that with this last system, and it really didn't seem like it shook out very much. So we would need a very, very strong southerly plunge of cold air that'll really help to bring up the winds and the possible rains for Jamaica and the Caribbean. But we're watching. We could see something like that as we get ready to roll into January. I do think it's a possibility as these fronts get a little more aggressive. We'll have to see what El Nino does to it, but we'll see. Malachi, have a wonderful evening. Stay blessed. Be safe out there. We also got to keep an eye on how the African monsoon is going to react. Yes, I agree. That'll be very telling as well. This is not like 2006, 2007 winter. Every winter is different. I think it will be wetter and cold, but not super cold and wet. Yeah, we'll have to see. So far, it's definitely seemed like a mild winter. It's not like super cold here in Florida, but it's been chilly. But the afternoons have been very nice. It's been very mild and wet, like you were kind of saying, PM, for sure. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up. We will see you again on Wednesday, more than likely, unless I do decide to make a video tomorrow. We'll see. Right now I'm kind of more focused on buffing up my TikTok and my Instagram numbers since YouTube's a little slow. We're going to lean on these live streams, and I really want to get my green screen up. I haven't forgotten about that. I still need to do that. So we'll kind of work on that over the next couple days, especially once I'm done bouncing back and forth from all this military stuff that I've been having going on. It's another thing, too. I finally finished my semester with school, and I really haven't had much of a break because I've been running back and forth to Tampa, to Orlando, to Tampa, to Orlando, and taking care of other things because of that. So, hopefully I'll finally get a little bit of a... and I can do stuff. Go ahead and fire your question, Giordani, real quick. And PM, I know. That hasn't left my mind either, Twitter X. One of these days, I'm just going to sit down on my phone or on the website and just mock it up. But go ahead and ask your question, and then we will go ahead and end the live stream. We going to lose you to the service? Oh, no, you're not going to lose me. I'm still going to be here. Waiting on the question. That's why we're kind of sitting in silence right now. Followed you on TikTok. Name Nemic4 of 8. Name 4 of 8. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks for following on TikTok. Yes, everybody who has a TikTok, my TikTok is growing a little bit faster than my Instagram, so please go follow me at weathercenter. Come on, David. weathercenter_Nazario TikTok. I'm doing very, very abbreviated Weather Center videos on there. They're usually like 2 to 3 minute updates. Do you have a warning for Jamaica for a super cold front in January? No, not yet. Not really. Giordani, I'm not sure if you're going to ask the question. I'm still looking in the chat. I haven't seen anything. I'll give you about another 10, 15 seconds before we wrap up. If not, can you please leave it in the comments section, and I'll definitely respond to you. Feel kind of silly just sitting here looking at the chat quietly. But we'll give it a second. I want to make sure to tend to as many questions as possible. Which, speaking of which, if this channel does ever grow and I turn into one of those wieners that, for lack of a better term, that only responds to like super chats and donations and ignores the rest of you, I give you permission to come through this camera and smack me, because I never want that to happen. I always want to make sure to get back to you guys and hold that conversation. I don't like how some YouTube channels, regardless of how many people are in their chat, will only look at the ones who spend money to get them to talk. I think that's absurd. You should never have to pay somebody for attention. That's another form of digital prostitution, if you ask me. But all right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Giordani, unless you lagged out or left preemptively, please leave the question in the comment section or drop me a line on TikTok, Instagram. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. But we'll see you again on Wednesday, guys. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you. There it is. When is your next major system, like Saturday? Oh, I just mentioned that. I'm thinking maybe sometime towards the very tail end of December we could see something. If you do that, I will unsubscribe. I love talking Tropics with you. And I agree. I absolutely agree. You know, that's not harsh of you to say. I absolutely agree with that. If it comes down to where I just ignore everybody and I only talk when I see money in the chat, heck no. I know some really, really big channels who do that, and it's dumb. It's dumb. You can take a couple seconds to look at your chat and address everybody. Those are your viewers. Those are your supporters. So, but yes, Giordani, to answer your question, Giordani, excuse me, end of the month, between the 27th and the 28th of December is what I'm thinking we could possibly see. Some other elements we'll have to kind of monitor, but right now that's what has my main attention. It doesn't look anything too crazy just yet. It's still far ways away, but just something to keep an eye out. Had one spammer troll tonight, got the boot. Good work. I appreciate that. But alrighty, folks. Again, before we end up talking for another 30 minutes, as much as I love you guys, we'll talk to you again potentially on Wednesday, unless something breaks tomorrow and I have to pop in. Don't really foresee that happening, but we'll see. And again, follow me on my TikTok, follow me on my Instagram if you want day by day, hour by hour-ish updates, or at least, a couple updates or so every other moment of the day. I'm very active on those social media platforms as of now. YouTube is a little more quiet, but yeah, I do appreciate all of you all's continued support. We've kind of gone over the plans of what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks with the channel. We're going to continue to dissect exactly what next hurricane season looks like, and we'll just hopefully continue to glow and grow together, guys, all right? This is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.